All right, this is bad news for 343 Industries. A little Mint Blitz, Mint Blitz action. Let's see what he has to say. Probably a lot of the same stuff about Infinite messing up, but it's always good to check in on, see what's going on with Halo Infinite. So let's give it a watch.
Specifically about the Forge maps that are coming out on Halo Infinite. Now, I'm always looking at what is happening with Halo, things I've observed, and I see what people are talking about. And the one thing I've noticed over the past few weeks, especially from the Forge community, is they're not very happy with 343. Now, there is numerous reasons as for why this is, and I'll cover.
How long are we going to do this? Like honestly. Like, why do we keep expecting top tier results from a D tier company? We're thinking like, oh, I don't get me wrong, it's good to hold people to a standard and whatever, like, hey, we expect this, but it's like their history for the last decade has shown what this company is. So why do we expect S tier results from a D tier company? Like, I don't even know why people are mad. Like, why we should have been done a long time ago. Like, I threw in the towel a while ago on this. You know what I'm saying? Like, why do people, like, why are you mad? What did you actually expect? Like, seriously, I'm not even trying to be funny or give a hot take. I'm like, what do you actually expect? When I go to McDonald's, I expect McDonald's food. Like, what, you know what I mean? Like, when you go to Burger King, you expect Burger King food. I don't go to, Applebee's and expect to get a Ruth's Chris steak. So what are we even talking about? Anyways.
For that in a second, but to give you some context, the Forges on Halo Infinite have really been carrying the game this year so far. 2024 has had three
the
major
community
refreshes.
has
So we have the
carried
Big Team
all
Battle
of
refresh,
343
the
games.
Squad Battle refresh, and the Husky Raid refresh. And every one of those maps are community made. For getting a map into rotation, into matchmaking, you get the Master Builder coating. It's a chrome coating with a blue visor. Imagine the same colors as 343 Guilty Spark, and it looks really, really good. But when you compare it to games like Fortnite, for example, or any other game that has a map builder, people actually earn a living creating maps on those games.
True.
Now, Forge has been around for years, 17 years to be exact, and people have always made maps and never gotten paid for it. But here's the distinction as I understand it from the Forge community. There's never been a time in Halo's history that the Forge community has been relied on so much to carry the content of the game. It is not just simply placing blocks now, it is hundreds of hours from blocking out the maps, arting them.
This might be a potentially hot take. But no one's twisting your arm making you create Forge maps. I understand if you want to do it, but 343, technically, they don't owe you money or owe it to you. Okay, this is like you made the map of your own accord. There's no agreement, there's no contract, so they technically just don't owe you anything. But on the flip side of that coin, you look at Fortnite and what they're doing with creators, it's like, well, they have a way to pay people. But again, Fortnite's a profitable business. Halo Infinite is not. Halo is not even close to profitable.
Maps and then testing and refining them, and that's even before 343 sees it. Then they give their feedback, and that can be based on spawn points, frame rate of the map, just stuff 343 want taken away or changed. They could even request changes to the weaponry, changes to the art style. We've heard it from 343 themselves. It can take upwards of 6 months of testing even after the map is made before it can go into matchmaking. I'm pretty sure it took over a year for those new BTB maps to be approved. That is a lot of testing and a lot of checks and balances before the whole population gets to play it. It can take up to 500 hours to make a map now, and the proof is in the pudding. The maps the Forgers have put out are light years ahead of what Sperasoft, the contracted company that is putting out maps for Halo Infinite at the moment, is currently doing. I made this comparison last week. Here's a map by Ethan Hibbs, and then you compare it to Corrosion, the new map that is coming out soon. It's a night and day difference. As a very quick side note, this year, 343 has put out Illusion. That is a developer-made map, ultra high quality, and it looks amazing. At this point, honestly, you're better off contracting the forgers to create the maps, give them access to the increased tools in a build of the game, and I think we would be very surprised at the amazing stuff that is created. I can definitely see where the Forge community is coming from. 99% of the new stuff that's come to the game this year has been Forge made, and of that 99%, 95% has been from the community. Then you have to keep in mind they're putting out higher quality than the people actually contracted to do a job, and then you have to factor in how long it actually takes to make the maps. I can see why they're frustrated, I really can. Ultimately, this has all come about because they are passionate about Halo. They don't want to go to other games and make maps on those games, but also they can't justify the time it actually takes to make those maps if there's no compensation at all. Now, as for the compensation itself, how they would get paid, that's entirely up to 343. You can either contract them, you can pay them based on how much the map is played. There are so many different community-friendly options that the Forge community would really like. The downside to the player base about this whole situation is if you don't have the Forgers who are creating 95% of the content, what is actually going to come out on Halo Infinite in the future? Not much. As someone who cares about the franchise very much and has observed this getting worse and worse over time, I figured I'd make a video, bring some awareness to it, and see what you guys think. Do you think Forgers in some way should be compensated for spending hundreds of hours to get maps released on Halo Infinite? And keep in mind, those maps are a higher quality than the people contracted to do the job in the first place. My personal opinion is support the Forgers. They obviously care about Halo, or they wouldn't create maps in Halo to begin with. And if other gaming companies are willing to compensate them for their time, I think Microsoft should be no different. If that is the new industry standard and Microsoft is behind the times in that regard, then I think they should be paid well for what they do. I cover Forge maps all of the time. I've been playing them on screen during this video. Even the squad battle gameplay, all made in Forge maps. This wouldn't have been possible without the community. Now, by no means am I having a go at 343 here. The Forge tool is amazing, and the stuff you can do on it is great, but I've also heard from Forgers that just like the rest of the state of the game at the moment, it is really buggy. To the point where something that takes 10 minutes to do can now take upwards of hours. 1, Forge crashes a lot. 2, everything glitches out. And 3, it just feels unrefined. I figured that was important to add at the end here, as all across the board, even you guys have mentioned yourselves, the game feels like it's in a rough spot and it needs some TLC. So guys, let me know.
Oh, the game's been in a rough spot since day one.
You think should the Forge community be supported? You see the stuff they put out all the time. If you agree with any of this, leave the video a like. I've got an absolutely juicy video planned for tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss it. But thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you guys later.
Yep. Nothing new. Nothing new. They still do not have...
For the next 3 days,
they do not have it together. Great video, though.
Guys,
give it a thumbs up. Go check it out.